All right. Hello and welcome to Husky Hoops. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, the legendary icon himself, the best of the best, the voice of the Huskies, Joe D'Ambrosia. Joe, great to see
Good
you.
morning. Conlon looks like a movie star with the sunglasses and the sun behind her and the blonde hair.
Yeah.
Listen, it's finally sunny out, Joe. I got to take advantage, you
I
know.
think I had a
And
pinup picture of you like that in my old days.
And yes, UConn women's legend, Western Connecticut State University head coach, and now movie star Maria Conlon.
Good to be back, guys. We got there's not really much to talk about this week, is there?
Well, Joe, we talked before about the men's game last Wednesday against St. John's, and I think it was probably shocking how they came out and dominated, and they did pretty much exactly what you both talked about. They went inside hard. They were scoring early. They came out to a fast start, and it never really let up. It was their best defensive performance of the season, and they became the first team in 12 years to hold a top 15 opponent under 20% from the field. And their 32-point win margin was the largest ever against St. John's. So, Joe, what were your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think I think Maria and I both thought, and I think you thought so too, Steve, that they would win. But I don't think anybody could have seen in their wildest imagination a 32-point win. One of the things we talked about early in the year was getting the lead and not letting the other team up for air. Well, they did that on Wednesday night against St. John's. I mean, they stepped on their throat and drove their heel into their neck, and the Red Storm basically cowered. It was, if I was a St. John's fan that night, I would have been brutally embarrassed just by the fact that my team showed no fight and that the coach seemed to give up in the second half. And for his 72-second press conference, if he'd gone longer, maybe somebody could have asked him that question. But just a great night for UConn. Reed was Reed, and if we see that version of Terrace Reed in the NCAA's, this team can go a long way.
That's exactly what we talked about. And I mean, they went to him early and often, and when he got the ball, he just dominated. And he went 30 plus minutes. He did get 4 fouls, but I thought he was much better. He had some blocked shots. I mean, he that's why I asked you. He's listed at 6'11", but he's not 6'11", right? You think he's more like 6'9", 6'8"?
No, I think he's like 6'10". I think he's legit 6'10".
Okay. But yeah, I mean, he was on fire early, and he did exactly what they needed him to do. And Maria, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they played it well. They got some quick fouls on St. John's best player early on, so he had to come out, and that changes the game a little bit for them. I think we played great defense, and I think St. John's just had a dismal shooting day. I mean, they literally, even when they were getting good looks, they could not get anything going whatsoever. And it's not like we didn't score that, like it wasn't like we were scoring 90, right? So I think offensively we were pretty much the same. I did think defensively we were better, and I think it was just a perfect storm of good defense and then just like literally, I don't think I've seen a team go that ice cold in my life. I mean, you're talking even bunnies around the rim were like rimming out. I mean, they couldn't make anything. So a great night for them. And then we saw kind of like the opposite against Seton Hall. I didn't think that we played well against Seton Hall. I thought the refs handed it to us at the end. I thought so. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was surprising.
There were a couple calls down the end of stretch of that game where I was like, wow, like Holloway must be like, I would be furious. But, Caravan, listen, at the end of the day, I was so happy for Caravan that he won his last game at Gamble and played really, really well. I mean, he basically put them on his shoulders for a good portion of the second half. And it seemed like every time Seton Hall went to go get a little bit of a run, Caravan had an answer. And listen, that's what you want from him in that moment. So I thought that was really good. But you know what I thought, Joe, in the game the other day against Seton Hall, though? We go through stretches where we just take way too many threes.
They have Celtics-itis, Maria. They have Boston Celtics-itis. They take, and not just the volume, but the fact that they'll often settle for quick threes. Their motion offense is so good. You can get a 3-point, and you know this because you were a 3-point shooter. You can get a 3-point shot virtually anytime you want. It's more of a challenge to work the ball and get a better shot. I totally agree. I think that when they're not playing well, and look, they've only got 3 losses all year, so it's a small sample size. But when they're not playing well, I think it's because they take way too many threes, and just the timing of the threes, I think, is the thing that hurts them. But I totally agree with you on Caravan. I thought it was great that they put his number up on the Huskies of Honor before the game, and then he played like the leader. I just heard on a hockey press conference Mike Cavanaugh used this phrase, and I loved it. A rising tide raises all boats. Well, he was the rising tide in that game, and he raised the boats around him to get that victory. They don't win that game if he doesn't play that well, because as you said, it was life and death. And look, that foul call on Ball when the shot clock was running down, when they gave him the 2 free throws, that was the ultimate bailout. And I read some quotes from Holloway on his post-game radio with Gary Cohen and Dave Popkin, and he was not happy. He was furious. But unfortunately, at that point, what can you do? The inconsistencies in the refereeing in the Big East have been discussed ad nauseum all year. And while I don't agree all the time that UConn gets screwed, I think the officiating, they need to take a look at the officiating in the league.
Yeah, especially going into the tournament. Now, Joe, people had questions about the tiebreaker system because, UConn being tied with St. John's, you said it would come down to Creighton, and people were talking about they shouldn't be penalized for losing to a better team, because I believe it was St. John's that lost to Providence, right?
Right.
Because they needed Providence to lose another game. So, I mean, I was reading on social media, people were asking about it. People did not agree with it. But
well, too bad, because that's the rules.
Yeah,
I don't care that people are complaining about it. If it had been flipped the other way around, then they would have been bitching the other way. So that's the rules. You lost to Creighton. St. John's lost to Providence. Creighton's above Providence in the standings, and away we go. And really, you know what? At the end of the day, once you get to New York, it doesn't matter.
It has minimal effects.
St. John's will play Seton Hall and beat them. UConn will play Villanova and beat them, and then we'll get UConn and St. John's in the final.
Yeah. Maria, what were your thoughts on that, the tie-breaking system? And there was a lot of chatter on social media about it.
It's a tie-breaking system for every league across the country, in every division. I mean, even in my world, it's like, it's like for us, like if Eastern had lost, we would have won the tiebreaker because we beat Rick, and Rick's the second seed. So, it gives more credit to teams who are able to beat a higher seed, which should be the way that it is, So yeah, I agree with Joe. I mean, listen, it is what it is. Beat all the teams you're supposed to beat, and then you don't have to come down to a tiebreaker to begin with. So,
Exactly. And Joe, I read that they would still be considered co-champions with St. John's, correct?
Yes. Right. Yeah. This is only the
minimum.
tiebreaker is only for
seeding.
seeding in the conference tournament. It has nothing to do. They'll split the trophy in half. UConn will get one half, and St. John's will get the other.
You split the baby in half.
Listen, if the who wins the actual league went down to that, I think that would be dumb. But yeah,
Yes.
to Joe's point,
Right.
it's just for seeding purposes. And listen, whether you're the 1 seed or the 2 seed, you still got to beat people to play each other. It's not like it's bumping one of them to 4th and the other one to 1st or anything like that. So whatever.
Exactly.
And Joe, for the NCAA tournament, they were talking again about UConn being a 1 seed. Do you think, if they go through the Big East tournament, they roll through, they're a clear number 1? And
I think they're a number 1. I mean, unless they stub their toe Saturday at Marquette, which nobody expects to happen because Marquette is miserable this year.
Atrocious.
But I think if they, I think if they beat Marquette and they win their first round game in the Big East tournament, I'd have a hard time seeing the committee drop them to a 2. And even if they did, all it would do is whoever's the 2 in the bracket that they have them with now would flip to be the number 1. It's not like, because I think the way they look at it, Maria, is UConn's the 4th number 1. And so whoever the first number 2 is would become the 4th number 1, and UConn would drop there. That's all. That's
exactly.
all. They're not going, and as far as where they're going, Duke will go to Washington. So UConn will have to go somewhere else. UConn won't get the benefit of going of staying in the Eastern time zone. So
regardless, right?
Yeah, exactly. Regardless.
Maria, what were your thoughts? Did you hear the NCAA send out the memo about travel and how that's going to be an issue with the chartered flights? There's not going to allegedly be as many. So teams have to be flexible with their travel plans. They may have to leave later. They may have to leave earlier. It's going to be, because they have to book everything through the NCAA, and the NCAA uses a special sports service to do that. Do you think that's going to play a factor in any way for these teams?
Well, whether it shouldn't. So, the travel's travel, whether you're leaving a day earlier and you get there and you get a practice in and a shooter. Honestly, think about it like this. Once you get out there to wherever you're playing and the court time is mandated by the NCAA, you actually have less time to prepare than if you're staying home a little bit longer. You can kind of practice as long as you want to, as long as, you're home. But, we know when you go out and it's an NCAA tournament, you have timed practices. So, listen, whether you have an extra day to shoot on the hoop that you're going to be playing on or not, I don't think is a deal breaker. I'm not really fazed by that at all. It shouldn't. Let's put it this way: it should not matter.
Right. Joe, you agree?
Yeah,
you go when you go.
If the bracket goes, look, they'll get where they're going to get. That's the bottom line. If there's
you don't think it should affect
fewer aircrafts because the government's commandeering more of these aircrafts for reasons we don't have to get into on a sports show, then you get the flight when you get it, and maybe you get in later at night than you would. Instead of getting in, let's say your first game is on a Thursday, you want to get in Tuesday afternoon. Instead of getting in Tuesday afternoon, you get in Tuesday night. Or what the NCAA could do if they had a brain in their head was allow the schools to arrange their own charter and reimburse them for it.
That's what I was thinking too. They should have just done it that way. Yeah, that of course made sense, but the NCAA does not always do what makes sense. Maria, the women obviously finished 31-0. and just rolled through everyone, had an incredible season. I know you mentioned last week that they didn't play as well as usual against their opponents. This week, I believe they had Georgetown and St. John's as well. How do you manage? I mean, because there could be a mental trap. You're undefeated. Do you treat the Big East tournament like basically a tune-up for the NCAA tournament, or you just keep going hard? Nothing will change.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. Anytime you get out there right now against people other than each other and your practice players is a tune-up, right? I mean, it's an opportunity to, work on stuff in the game. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to breeze through the Big East tournament, but I don't think that being 31-0 or whatever is a mental anything for these kids. When you're used to winning as many games as they are, and listen, this isn't obviously the first time that the coaching staff has entered a postseason undefeated. So
no, not at all.
I don't think really much is gonna change. I don't think they're thinking about, we're gonna go 40-0 or whatever the heck it could be, but just kind of insane. But no, I think it's business as usual. Use it as a tune-up, work on some things that you might see in the NCAA tournament, and you go from there.
Yeah.
Maria, did you see Muffet McGraw's latest little whiny bitch about UConn? Boy, she has got to burr up her ass about UConn.
Haterade.
Yeah, she's I always say anyone who changes their name to Muffet is questionable in my opinion. But yeah, I did see that. I mean, it's like, what else do they have to do? Yeah,
what it is to me? It's her crying for attention because she's gone out of the mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone even gives a shit what the hell she has to say anymore.
I totally agree.
But yes, I did see that.
Seen it. Yeah.
Maria, what did you think about the girls that went to the Unrivaled game the other night and they got a huge ovation there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's great.
And they sold out Barclays too.
Yep. I haven't really watched much of Unrivaled this year. It hasn't really been on my docket, but
no, it's not fun.
Obviously Paige had a great season with Unrivaled. They didn't win the other night, but she played great. And I think anytime you get to go and see a former teammate play and get out there and market the sport, it's a positive thing. So it's cool that they had some time off to be able to get down there.
Yeah.
AZ Fudd's outfit was definitely the talk of the town.
The talk of the town, yeah.
It's like, I laugh because it's like, I'm thinking back to college, where it was like, boots and jeans and, sweatshirt and a t-shirt. That's really all you could afford to buy to wear, not these like really expensive fur coat outfits. But hey, good for them. I mean, good for her. It is what it is. It's funny too, like, back when we played, like, fashion was not such a talk of the town either. It's like, now, like, they do rankings on like what people's outfits and whose fit is better and all that. So you got a lot more. Listen, I was perfectly fine with the fact that I grew up in the boots and jeans era.
Yeah, Joe, what did you think of that? I mean, everyone cheered for the UConn girls, and
I thought it was great. I mean, they're universally loved. Now there's a big UConn presence there because Stewie and Paige were playing, and I'm like, Maria, I haven't watched any of Unrivaled, and unless there's not a good show on Food Network at 9:00, I won't watch it tonight. I think tonight's the start of Flavortown Food Fight, Guy Fieri's new show, which looks interesting. It's funny. I hadn't watched a minute of Food Network until I was stuck in the hospital for a week in November, and then I'm flipping through the channels, and I found it, and it's all it is competition. I love it. I watch that 1,000 times more than I watch ESPN. 1,000 times more.
ESPN is just
I have become hooked on Food Network, but yeah, good for the kids. And Maria's right. It's a lot of it's about what they call the fit now, I guess, and the fashion and stuff. And it's cool. It's a different era, and I'm glad the kids got to enjoy it and got to stay in New York an extra day. I'm sure they stayed after the St. John's game. I don't think they tripped back to Connecticut and then got back down to Brooklyn for that game on Monday for the doubleheader on Monday night. But yeah, huge for UConn. The brand name grows bigger and bigger all the time.
Maria, I know you got to hop off. Just your last thoughts on the women and the men as they enter into the Big East tournament.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think UConn probably doesn't play until Saturday this weekend?
Saturday at noon.
That's the 7th,
yeah.
I believe.
So, the Mohegan Reservation will be packed with UConn fans, which is always fun. My assumption is that they cruise through that pretty easily. So I think when we're talking next week, we'll be talking about how they won whatever the heck record, Big East, how many times, and then I think the men will roll at Marquette, and and then we'll be gearing up for the Big East tournament. So that's really it there. I mean, listen, this is the best time of year. My favorite time of year.
Yeah, right.
There's always something on. I'm actually more excited to watch a little bit of the MAC tournament this weekend. See
We'll talk about that with Joe after. Yeah, the MAC tournament's going to be interesting. So just you can give your quick thoughts on Bruce Pearl and what he said about Miami of Ohio if you want.
Oh, I didn't even hear it. I don't really listen to Bruce Pearl. What did he say?
They shouldn't be considered as an at-large. He's just trying to stick up for his kid coaching at Auburn, thinking they should get in as an at-large. You know what, Maria? I never paid attention to him as a coach. I pay attention to him less in that hideous TNT studio show.
I don't listen to any of that.
He was lobbying for. He said Miami of Ohio wouldn't last in any of these other conferences. They're the only undefeated team in men's college basketball.
There's always a team every year that we could say that about. I mean, who cares? It's like,
and nobody's saying they would go unbeaten in the SEC or the ACC. Stop. Just another guy who just craves attention.
Yep.
No, he does for sure. He's the
Muppet McGraw of the boys' side.
Exactly.
He's a cartoon character, in my opinion. I can't believe he's on television. It's just amazing to me. All right, Maria, thank you so much.
And, all right, movie star. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye, guys.
Yeah, so Joe, I mean, he has been pretty much outrageous this entire year, Bruce Pearl, as an analyst. And people have said that obviously he left his job at the last second so he could hand it over to his son. And they are on the bubble to make it and most likely should not make it. But what are your thoughts on the way that he handled that situation and where Auburn is now and how he has transitioned as a commentator, analyst, whatever?
Well, I haven't heard anything he said on TNT. I
try to avoid it. I do too.
I listened to one game accidentally. I think he was working with Ian and Raft, and he added nothing. He's not. He's a fly. He's a fly on the ass of an elephant. That's what he is.
I mean, he just seems like he tries too hard to be entertaining.
Well, I'm sure that's what TNT told him to do.
Oh, okay.
I guarantee you, and I hope we don't find him on an analyst team for the NCAA tournament. I hope CBS and TNT is smarter than that, but because TNT is part of the package, I'm sure he'll glom up some broadcast team.
So, is there any specific matchup for the men when they get into the tournament? Now, obviously, we don't know what the brackets are yet. Other than St. John's, do you see anyone as a threat to UConn?
I think Villanova could be, although they cleaned the floor with them in the second half 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. But other than that, no. And look, Seton Hall's played them hard twice. But I think Seton Hall's locked into the 4. So I don't think there's much. Seton Hall can't finish any higher than 4th. So if whoever's number 1 will get them in the semifinals, and the number 2 will get Villanova. Stevie, I think either Villanova or St. John's can give UConn a little bit of a battle. But do I think they'll beat them? No. I think UConn will get to the finals. I think St. John's will get to the finals.
As far as the rotation goes for the men, the bench has seemed to perform and give them better minutes. I mean, they have been inconsistent throughout the year overall, but which bench players do you see having to step up? Because the tournament, I mean, you're in back-to-back game settings.
Well, I think Smith, because I think there's going to come a point where Demery will find himself in foul trouble. So I think Malachi's a guy. And I think Ryba, because I think that there'll be a game where Reed gets in foul trouble. I don't worry so much about Jaden Ross has become Mr. Consistent off the bench. I really like his development. And Stewart, with this injury, who knows how effective he'll be when he comes back. I'm sure they want to see him back Saturday against Marquette so he can get a little bit of run before the Big East and the NCAA tournaments. But I would say Smith 1, Ryba 2 are the guys who I think have to perform well off the bench, not just in the Big East tournament, but more importantly, even in the NCAA tournament.
And then we talked about that minutes wise, managing the minutes. Who do you think, as far as the starters go, are going to have to play the most? 35 plus.
Everybody.
Have to roll with them. Right.
Everybody's got to play. It's the time of the year where
this is it.
Try to play guys off the bench, but if they're not playing well, then the starters got to go, because after Saturday, you're down to a maximum of 9 games left in the season. And
you're right. You got to suck it up.
You've got to be able to go out there and play as hard as you. So there's no managing of minutes once they finish with Marquette.
And then for coaching, any adjustments? Are there any tendencies that opponents could exploit for UConn in a obvious single elimination tournament, either in the Big East or the NCAA?
I think the one thing that we've seen that teams do to UConn, and St. John's does it more effectively than anybody, is full court pressure.
Right, which
especially in the inbound pass.
Against.
But it's funny, and I had always thought this for a long time too, and I heard somebody say it. I heard Frank Isola say it on the starting lineup on Sirius NBA radio. People talk about coaches making adjustments. Coaches make adjustments every play. That's why they call for another play. That's why they call for a different defense. And with UConn's coaching staff, with Coach Hurley and Coach Young and Luke Murray and Mike Nardi, Tommy Moore in the GM seat, I don't think you have to worry about UConn's coaches making the proper adjustments. They can change things on the fly as well as anybody. So I don't. That's the last thing that I would worry about, would be coaching adjustments.
And then anything with the women, are there any potential upsets that could come close in the Big East tournament? No. Right?
No, not at all. Yeah, I agree with Maria. I think it'll be a coronation, and I think they go to the NCAAs at 34-0, and then have a 1-16 game at Gimple, which is kind of like the same scenario as when they fed the Christians to the Lions back in old Rome.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true. Can you explain, because someone had asked about the women's tournament versus the men's tournament, the location setup is different?
They did that a couple of years ago. Some rocket scientist with the Women's Big East Committee decided it would be better to play the semifinal regional, the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight in only 2 sites instead of 4.
Okay.
So this year it's Fort Worth and Seattle. So it was just somebody's brilliant idea. I think it's moronic, but nobody asked me. Nobody rang up the bat phone and said, "Hey Joe, what do you think?" I know Gino doesn't think it's great, and if Gino doesn't think it's great, I don't think it's great, and I didn't think it was great from the beginning. So I think it's like 3 or 4 years of it now, and it's just the committee trying to. I think one thing it is, Steve, is I think the women's committee doesn't want to look like they parrot everything that the men do. And so that was the reason for doing this.
You're saying that they want to appear that they're doing things differently than the men's tournament, even though I've
totally always thought that. Yeah.
Wow. Because I mean that seems, like you said, moronic to me, that you're doing it not for anything logistically or financially or whatever. You're just doing it because you want to show that you're different.
Why not showcase your sport, which is at the highest it's ever been, in 4 locations instead of 2?
Yeah, absolutely. Get so much more out of that. You're going to get more exposure and awareness, and people will have the ability to see the talent on the women's side. I completely agree with you. And
that's because you're a smart man.
Yeah. Somebody had asked me about this, and
what did Christy want to know?
The WNBA and the lockout. They have a drop dead date. I believe it's March 11th to come to a new agreement for the CBA, or the season will be affected. The women have been steadfast on the revenue sharing and salary structure that they want. The housing issue, I believe, has been solved. The chartered planes have been solved, but they have to get it done by March 11th, and then it'll take another 3 weeks from there for it to be finalized. I don't know how much you have been following it, but what are your thoughts on that? Because, the WNBA has been at the highest it's been popularity wise the last 2 years, and I would
say this, Steve. As great as the WNBA has become, if they screw this up and have a lockout, you've got Major League Baseball, and the summer in this country, you've got the World Cup. Nobody will miss the WNBA.
That's what people said. Yeah,
nobody.
And I always go back to the baseball strike in '94. When that happened, it took years for the fans to really come back and forgive the players or whatever. I mean, do you remember that? And I mean, it should be an example for why you don't want to have a lockout, because that really upset people. And
but eventually baseball came back.
It did, yes.
It was the national pastime. I'm not sure if the WNBA missed the season, if it would ever fully come back.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for the players, but the players are it's the fault lies on both sides here.
Well, they're asking for a lot, I believe.
Right. Not being able to come to an agreement. So, so we'll see. But I think if the WNBA locks out and they delay the start of the season, or there is no season,
2 expansion teams too.
Especially this year with the World Cup being here, as well as obviously Major League Baseball, nobody's going to miss it.
And do you believe that the owners are kind of right with their argument that they haven't generated profit until real. I mean, they claim they lost money last year too. That is their argument. Like they haven't generated enough profit to warrant what the players are asking for. But they have not opened their books to show the players.
Well, then it's impossible to tell just how truthful that is. And I'll be honest, Steve, I haven't gotten that deep in the weeds on that part of it, so I can't tell you. So I just think in general, don't go away, because it would be the worst thing that would happen for your sport.
And, as far as recruiting goes for both programs, a deep run, an early exit, do you think that affects any recruiting for either program? No. UConn is UConn. We're a brand. We're a dominant brand. We're a national brand.
Especially on the men's side now with the transfer portal. The recruiting thing has changed a little bit. I mean, you can bring players in. Now, obviously, you recruit kids. You brought Mullins and Ryba in, and they've been great. On the women's side, you brought Blanca in, and she's been tremendous.
Yes.
So no, recruiting does not affect. Is that affected for you? And I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think it's affected for anybody in college basketball, because if you have a bad NCAA tournament, then kids are going to be jumping ship. And it's not my fault, and that creates openings. And it's up to the individual programs whether they want to close them with transfer portals, kids, or freshmen. I think the way the men have done it has been perfect. Bring in a good class and fill in what you need with 2 or 3 important transfers.
They definitely have. Now,
I think that's the way to go.
Do you see any, for Caravan, this tournament, this run, for the Big East and the NCAA, if he were to go and obviously win another national championship, does he go on the Mount Rushmore for UConn basketball?
As much as I love the kid and I think he's great, you've got to tell me out of Kemba, Rip, Emeka, and Ray who he's better than.
Who you knock off? That's what I said exactly.
As much as I love him as a person, as much as I've enjoyed watching him play, as great as an ambassador he's been for the school, he's not he may not be one of the 10 greatest players in UConn history. I don't know. I haven't, maybe.
Then do you think that he should have had his jersey? Or
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think that was perfect timing. I think that was well done by Danny and the basketball staff. I have no problems with that. And the next men's jersey I want to see retired is Kemba.
Absolutely.
I want to see Kemba go up there. And the next Husky I want to see go in Huskies of Honor is Ryan Boatwright. That's long overdue.
Right. I hear you. All right. So one sentence. Why will the women win the national title, and why will the men win the national title?
The women will win the national title because of Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd. The men will win the national title because they're the best prepared team, and their coaches will have them ready for any situation.
What could cause the men to fall short of being in the Final Four?
A game where they don't shoot well, they have problems with turnovers, and Reed and Demery in particular, and Caravan to a point, get in foul trouble.
And can you name a player who will make the all-tournament team, but maybe not on most people's radars?
For the men?
For the men,
Geez, I don't know, because I could see Reed, Demery, Ball, Caravan, Mullins.
They're all capable.
I don't think so, Steve. I think it's the primetime characters, because they're going to get the majority of the playing time.
And the most important stat to watch for the men, would you say?
Turnovers.
Turnover margin.
Turnovers and offensive rebounding for the opposition.
And then what about the because the free throw rate, because that was something that Holloway complained about as well. Do you think the free throws are important?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't have somebody taking 12 to 15 more free throws in a game of once you get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament or even the round of 32. You can't have somebody taking double digits more free throws than you take. That's a recipe for disaster.
Right. I hear you. All right. So we cruise through Marquette, see what happens with the tournament. And the women's tournament starts this weekend. And
Friday.
It should be a nice start. We look forward to seeing how things go. And we'll get into everything next week.
We will.
Yes. So thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Stevie.
Again, Joe D, the legendary icon, voice of the Huskies, the best of the best. I'm Steve Cully, best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, just throw them right back at life.